There's been a deadly explosion at a Shiite mosque in Kandahar in southern Afghanistan. At least 33 people have been killed and more than a dozen wounded. The blast comes a week after a bombing at a Shiite mosque in northern Afghanistan carried out by an affiliate of the Islamic State group. 46 people were killed in that explosion. There's been no immediate claim of responsibility for today's blast. And joining us now is our chief foreign editor, Rob Parsons. Rob, can you put these two bombings into some context for us? What does this say about the Taliban's ability to secure the country?
Well, it's pretty educative, I think. The Taliban quite clearly face a really serious problem when it comes to providing security for their own people. They said after the bombing in Kunduz, in which over 50 people were killed and as many wounded, that they would provide for the security of the Shiite minority in Afghanistan. It's about 20% of the total population. Yet here we are a week later, and the Islamic State Khorasan apparently carries out another attack. Already we know that dozens have been killed and dozens wounded. It exposes a problem that the Taliban now faces. You know, it was a very effective guerrilla army, but it doesn't have the resources to provide police security for Afghanistan. It doesn't have a regular army to operate around the country. It has a relatively small guerrilla force, many of whose members, I imagine, will be wanting to go back to where they come from in Afghanistan and carry on their normal lives now that the war for gaining control of the country is over. But as far as the Islamic State Khorasan is concerned, it's not over at all, it's just beginning. And their clear ability to strike where they want. This is a group that is based primarily in the eastern province of Nangarhar, but increasingly, as we've seen from that attack in Kunduz last week and today in Kandahar, but also in other places around the country as well, they can strike all over Afghanistan, and that poses a massive challenge for the Taliban. How do they go about answering it? Do they start recruiting again from the old police force, the old army? It's a decision that's going to have to be made pretty soon. Do they even consider the possibility of allying with the United States in the fight against Islamic State? That's a step I don't think they'll want to take, but at some stage it could be forced on them.
Rob, can you clarify for us the relationship between the Taliban and the Islamic State group? Aren't they both jihadist groups?
They are both jihadist groups, but there is a very clear distinction between the two. The Taliban is a national organization committed to establishing an Islamic emirate on the territory of Afghanistan. It has no aspirations to take jihad elsewhere in the world, whereas the Islamic State, of which Islamic State Khorasan is a Central Asian affiliate, wants to do precisely that. It is committed to global jihad. It wants to take jihad everywhere in the world to fight Western organizations wherever they may be found. That is a major difference between the two. As far as the Islamic State organization is concerned, the Taliban are apostates for abandoning jihad, which means that according to their very strict interpretation of Islamic law, very peculiar interpretation of Islamic law, they can strike and kill members of the Taliban. There has been some cooperation between certain groups of the Taliban, in particular the Haqqani organization from the northeast of the country, and the Taliban in the past. But at an operative level, there is really no crossover at all. It is true that the Taliban released many Islamic State prisoners when they opened the prisoners after taking control of the prisons, after taking over the country. But beyond that, there really is no formal overlap between the two organizations at all.
Okay, our chief foreign editor, Rob Parsons. Rob, thanks a lot.